Good morning. It's morning here. It could be evening there. But good morning. Welcome back to another Bible in the Backyard episode. So I'm here on my back deck, sitting in my green chair, and we're going to talk today about another parable that Jesus teaches us. And if we remember correctly, then parables are an earthly lesson with a heavenly meaning. So he basically kind of breaks. Sorry, there's something in my eye. He basically breaks this whole learning about everything down for us in a way that we can hopefully understand it. And again, this is a single person's thoughts on this, and this is what I get from reading these lessons. So this one you'll find in the book of Luke, and you'll find it in the 18th chapter and in the 9th verse. We're going to go 9 through 14. And it's really, really, really short, but there's a lot packed into these verses. So Luke chapter 18, and Luke is the third gospel in the New Testament, third book in the New Testament. So it's Luke chapter 18, verse 9. And I'll start there, and it says, "And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous, and despised others. Two men," verse 10, "went up to the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee, and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week, I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For every one that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted." Okay. He's pretty much straightforward, telling you everything that, like, who he's talking to. He's telling you who he's talking to. He's talking to these people that think they're so much better than everyone else. And it's interesting because I've studied this, and then I just reread it again, and something else stood out to me. It's two different classes of people that we're talking about here. We're talking about a Pharisee, so we're talking about a leader that's supposed to be a leader, a rule maker, a this, a that, and then we're talking about someone that just has a job, a normal job. Well, granted, this publican, it says in my Bible, it says he is a tax collector. So neither of these people are really kind of, in my opinion, or in my belief, or neither are kind of liked by a normal, regular person. But yes, he's talking about this, and he's talking to these people that were righteous and despised others, but then I guess he's also talking, I know he's talking to us too. Yet again, here's a lesson for us to learn from. And it was shocking to me when I read this, and I was sitting there and I was studying it, and I was just sitting with it and mulling it over and everything, and there's two there's stark differences between these two people, and they're drastic. They're absolutely drastic if you actually look at it. So in verse 11, it says, "The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as other men are. Extortioners, unjust, adulterers are even as this publican." In verse 11, he's attacking other people in his prayer, saying, "Oh, I'm so glad that I'm not who they are and I'm this person." But he calls out every single thing that they do wrong. Extortioners, they're unjust, they're adulterers, or as even as this person that's standing beside me or behind me in the grocery store or walking down the street or driving a car that's next to me, like, I can't believe this person's doing this. Da 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 da. We all have those thoughts that come in our heads sometimes, and I get it, but it's like he's saying, I deserve this because I follow the rules. And then in verse 12 it says, "I fast twice in the week and give tithes of all that I possess." Again, he's boasting in himself. He's boasting in what he does. In all that he does. It's I this or I that, or what about me, and I'm doing this, so I need to do, and whatnot. And so we go to the publican. That was the Pharisee. We go to the publican. And in verse 13, "And the publican standing afar off would not lift so much as his eyes unto the heavens, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner." His head is down. He's humble. He's earnest. He's heartfelt. He knows that he makes mistakes. He knows that he's not perfect. He knows that he's not better than the person that's walking next to them. And he knows that he's unjust. And it's interesting that that word popped out to me. It says, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as is publican. Unjust. Aren't we all unjust? Don't we all fall short? Don't we all make mistakes? Or a quick judgment of someone that's walking down the street and it's like, oh, how did that person get in that way, or whatnot? Or sometimes we make a decision and based on an intense emotion and we can't, and then we have to backtrack ourselves. And I find it interesting too is how in my head how I have this pictured. It's the Pharisee. He goes into the temple and he is at the front. He's standing at the front. He's as close as he possibly can get to where the priest is. It says in my Bible, in my little notes down here at the bottom, it says, "There were times around the morning and evening sacrifices at the temple when people could pray, although private prayer at other times were allowed. The Pharisee apparently kept all the requirements of the Mosaic law and beyond. He was proud of his actions and his religious superiority to the people, such as the publican." And I have this picture in my head of where they were standing. So this Pharisee would be, in my head, I have him pictured as up at the front, his head held high, his, like, I'm supposed to be here, this is my spot, you're not taking it, da 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 da. And then this publican, this tax collector, is in the back. He literally stepped in and went to the side. Like, very, very, very much so in the back. It says, be merciful to me. In verse 13. And the publican standing afar off, so he's not close at all. So in my brain, I'm thinking of my own church and how we have the foyer walking in, and then we have two different sections that are really that you walk in and there's pews, but if you turn to the right and turn to the left, there's little coves in the back that you can sit in. In my brain and in my mind's eye, I think that he's sitting in that very, very, very last row. And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes unto the heavens, but smote his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. A sinner. We're all sinners. Every single one of us. And I think that Jesus does a good job here of putting us all on a level playing field and saying, no, you're all important to me. It doesn't matter where you stand. It doesn't matter what title you hold. It doesn't matter what job you have. It doesn't matter any necessarily. You're all on a level playing field for me. Because guess what? We all say the wrong thing. We always don't do the right thing. We make decisions based on emotions and not necessarily thinking them through. We can hold grudges and it not be good for us at all. We just need help. This sinner, this publican, knows that. It says, I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. So this publican went down to his house justified rather than the Pharisee. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humble himself shall be exalted. So if we're able to listen, if we're able to see ourselves for who we actually are, and we are God's children, and we are loved by him, but it's also, don't be mistaken as we don't need his help, because we do. In my last little paragraph here, and then I'll be done for the day. And it says, we all are here. We all are this publican. We all need help. We need guidance on how to help, and how to help others, and how to act towards others, and how to treat others, and how to just be sometimes in our lives, and not to feel angry or pride or try to raise ourselves above anyone else. We all, myself included, I'm talking to me, have another thing to learn, and other things to learn. A heart to help and a person to understand. So if we take ourselves as the Pharisee, then we act like we know everything already. And guess what? We don't. We don't know everything. And we like to act like we do. We do. Or that we have life figured out, or that we've made the right decisions, or that we've done this, that we've done that. But guess what? We don't. We need the help. We need to be humble and say, help me. I am a sinner. I am a person that needs your help, God. But that is the lesson of the Pharisee and the publican. And just don't judge others based off of your intentions without looking at yourself and going, yeah, I'm this way, or I'm that way, or I'm whatnot. Just make sure that, your intentions are in check, yes, but then also you're not judging someone based off your intentions and then them based off of their actions. Just be kind. Just be kind to everyone. Quite literally. Be kind to everyone. See ya.